We are live. Thank you
live.
so much for tuning in, everybody. And while we will take all your questions, I remember one question that had come in yesterday about capex and why India is lagging, and we will take that a bit later on in the show for sure. So thank you so much for your question. The only reason why we are not doing it right now because the person may log in after 5-10 minutes.
Yes.
So we will try and take it a bit later on. But we have a new joinee today.
IT.
Not a new joining.
Entry fee though.
Entry fee क्या?
Entry fee to this club.
पैसा नहीं है ये मार्केट
Bulls Bears and Banter में आने का entry fee.
हाँ, Bulls and Banter में आने का
पैसा
entry
नहीं
fee.
है सर.
So मैं
आज
इनको
IT stocks वाले भी यही बोल रहे हैं पैसा नहीं है.
पैसा नहीं है. नहीं, मैं यही बोल रहा था, ये बोल रही है सर्दी लग रही है, मतलब हाँ सेक्टर एनालिस्ट को भी लगी है और सेक्टर को भी लगी हुई है सर्दी.
Yeah, but the market itself, right? It's slightly wobbly today, right? Even the small caps, 0.5%.
0.5%.
Not too bad, like less than 0.5%. So yet another day of
Midcap में
small cap
0.8%
outperformance.
नीचे हाँ. But last 2-3 दिन में तो
last 2 days they were outperforming.
up 3-3.5% गए, अभी तो सब बुकिंग हुई है.
Weekend.
Yes, weekend आजकल बहुत ज़्यादा अनसर्टेन हो गया है.
क्यों?
ट्रम्प कभी भी कुछ बोल देता है सैटरडे को या संडे को कुछ भी.
Expect that for the next 4 years.
Oh yeah.
No. Actually, if you look at Trump's commentary, and I was watching his Fox News interview. So everything what he's doing is he's passing an executive order that has to be ratified by the Congress and at some point in time. So he's saying कि मैं अपना जितने भी मेरे executives हैं, orders हैं जो मैं वो अभी पास कर रहा हूँ, अगले 4 साल है मुझे क्लियर करने के लिए. तो वो सब अपफ्रंट करके कर रहा है. आई डोंट हैव टू वरी अबाउट कि भाई लास्ट ईयर में मैं कुछ करूँ नहीं करूँ. आई थिंक दैट्स व्हाट ही वाज टेलिंग that interview, Fox News, which is there. So whatever he wants to do it in first 6 months, and then he will gradually get that ratified by the Congress. And so the policy, from that point of view, the policies are very clear in front. Now he's saying that there's no uncertainty. I know these are the things. Next 3 months I'm going to put X, Y, Z, and that's going to be ratified over a period of time, over the next 2 or 3 years, and then we are back. Make America great again, kind of thing.
MAGA plus mega is equal to mega. Inches. Yeah, so that's the first thing. Let's get the lady to speak first and talk about the weakness that we're seeing. Mid caps are down. Very interestingly, mid cap IT is taking a bit of a beating today. Rucha, what happened?
Yeah, so mid-cap stocks generally, people were actually ignoring the valuations is what I believe, and people were actually betting on how fast the growth was in last 2 years compared to the large cap IT as well. But now, unfortunately, people are compelled to think about valuations in this market. And interestingly, that is why I think there's a sell-off in mid-cap, because even if there is growth, if the stock is now expensive, people don't want to bet. Well, in fact, Niraj, one of the interesting notes today by Macquarie said that about LTTS, said that we know that, or rather we assume, or we expect LTTS to grow at a slower pace than its peers, but we still prefer LTTS because it is at a cheaper valuation than a Coforge or Persistent. So, the sentiment around valuations have now been very sensitive to investors, and therefore this kind of selling is happening in mid caps.
But it's very interesting because 2 days ago or 3 days ago, JP Morgan came out with a note saying that buy into this weakness for Persistent. Right?
Yeah.
So therefore, one is Macquarie's view, but some other brokerages have different views as well.
But that could be because of the growth execution. See, execution is not a problem. Persistent is persistent in executing its deals, right? So people are betting on Persistent, but यहाँ से upside देखो ना कितना है as compared to what a LTTS can give. See, those are two different perspectives, how you can look at it. If Sajeet sir, you want to give us some view on growth versus valuation?
I just wanted to, I was doing this exercise, and I think we were talking yesterday also about Nifty, EPS and other stuff, right? Yesterday. And I was doing this exercise.
Sorry, I have a meme for Rucha.
Okay.
No, please,
okay. What is it?
I see you inside in the newsroom. Sir, okay, I'll leave this.
So, I did a small exercise of Nifty 50 companies, forward earnings of FY26. we all know 19 times Nifty चल रहा है, but based on the EPS of each of the companies, did a scenario analysis. अगर if and उसमें ये पता चला कि and we were talking about right कि companies are expensive 25 times के ऊपर कौन से हैं. So roughly 24 companies in the Nifty 50 are trading about 25 times forward earnings. That constitutes roughly around 34% of the weight of the Nifty. Now, two sectors come across. One is FMCG and the other is IT. These are the sectors where the valuations are about 25 times. TCS being higher at 29-30 times FY26 trade कर रहा है अभी.
IT और
FMCG. Now I did the same exercise 2-3 years back.
FMCG is about 25 even after this consistent 18-day fall.
Yes, it is still. मतलब 5 में
हाँ,
से
but महंगे ही हैं, स्टॉक तो महंगे.
5 में से 4 जो हैं वो ऊपर है. सिर्फ ITC है जो सब 20 है, 19 के आसपास जा रहा है, right? Now I did the same exercise for 2 years back to 2023 based on FY24 estimate उस समय सिर्फ 16 कंपनीज थे जो 25 टाइम्स के ऊपर ट्रेड कर रहे थे. एंड FMCG again was the sector where which was valuation was high, and the second one was financials. So financials have been taken over by IT this time, which is there. Now let's do an analysis of it कि अगर assume and we took the Bloomberg target price for each of them. Based on the target price, if we are going to look at the Nifty value, that Nifty value comes to 27,000 at the end based on target price. But अगर आप उस पे एक एनालिसिस करते हो कि सेंसिटिविटी कितना है, तो 5% अगर नीचे जाता है इंडेक्स.
Sorry, you lost me.
So sensitivity of earnings downgrade of Nifty companies 50. Or 50 companies, 5% if it goes down, for each company, earnings is downgraded by 5% each for all the 50 companies, then Nifty goes back to 21,700. And if you only take these companies which are over 25 times, उनमें 5%, then we are sitting at 22,800.
Multiple अगर नीचे गया.
हाँ, मतलब earnings नीचे गया तो Nifty किस वैल्यू पे होना चाहिए?
Okay. अगर so if IT and FMCG earnings go by 5%,
तो
then
Nifty is current level.
So Nifty is baking that.
हाँ. और अगर पूरा का 5% जाता है तो 21,700.
तो कहना क्या चाहते हो?
कहना ये चाहते हैं कि अभी हम अगले एक साल तक -5 से 17% के रेंज में रहेंगे. अगर हम टारगेट प्राइस की तरफ स्टॉक्स मूव करते हैं तो 22-23 टाइम्स तक जाएंगे. दैट मीन्स अराउंड 27,000 के आसपास. अगर हम अर्निंग्स डाउनग्रेड होते हैं तो -5% तक जा सकते हैं. दैट्स अ बॉटम which is
but only if all the sectors are downgraded, right?
Yeah, I'm just
on an average.
On an average.
5%
कर जाते हैं. So that's so that is a range -5 to 17% का आपका रेंज है उसमें. Which basically means अगर आप 5% assume करते हैं कि और नीचे गिरेगा यहाँ से, then you have a 22-23%
point well noted. Okay, so there is a question which is, it's all about the fun say, why are Indian markets still the most expensive emerging market despite a heavy FI selling? I think it ties in with what maybe Sajeet was trying to say, that despite this FI selling and the market correction having happened. By the way, there is no correction about Indian markets being expensive and FI selling per se. FI selling या DI selling हो, market नीचे आना चाहिए. Market has come off because of the FI selling, but it's still trading at about 19 or 20 times. The reason why it's most expensive because other markets like China used to trade at 9 times. So even after the rally, they're trading at 11, 11.5, 12 in the optimistic scenario. But India traditionally has and will remain an expensive market. To my mind, अच्छी चीज़ महंगी मिलती है. India is like that अच्छी चीज़ 17 टाइम या 16 टाइम जाएगा, people will come in and buy. I think so that is the thing.
और एक और चीज़ जो चाइना में है नीरज, एंड यू कैन step in here, the Chinese run up from 9 times to 11 or 12 times is led by flows, positive flows. और हमारा जो करेक्शन हुआ है वो नेट जीरो फ्लोज पे हुआ है. लोग बोलते हैं लिक्विडिटी का चक्कर है, पर लिक्विडिटी मुझे तो कुछ दिखा नहीं. मैं NSE में मैंने looked at the average daily turnover of NSE for last 1 year. It hasn't fallen. 8,000 करोड़ का डिफरेंस है बस. उसमें अगर आपका मार्केट गिर गया तो इतना शैलो तो नहीं है हमारा मार्केट.
नहीं, बट
and I'm telling you why I'm telling you this, because 2023 में आपका एवरेज जो टर्नओवर हुआ करता था वो 60-70,000 करोड़ पर डे होता था, और आज 1,16,20,000 करोड़ पर डे है. So that turnover has also gone up in that sense.
But that is always the case, right? For every rupee sold, there is a rupee bought. So that will, there is an intensity of selling, an intensity of buying पे
liquidity flow. हाँ, so there is a fundamental correction हो रहा है, profit booking हो रही है. वो that is something which we, you were saying something.
So yeah, I was asking, you said that India will always be an expensive market. So my question to you is, right now India is in that phase, wherein it is maybe moving from a developing to maybe a developed nation, something like that. But don't you think that room should sometime come down and come to levels wherein it is par in terms of valuations with other country markets?
But Rucha, the reason why it may not happen so soon right now is because if you look at large markets around the world, and India is a large market, whether it's developing or developed is separate, but it's a large market and a large economy, right? Show me large markets which are growing at the rate at which India is growing.
6.6%.
And from a market, so that is the economy. From the market's perspective, the earnings growth coming in India, and the ROEs that Indian companies bring to the table. So you see last 2 years, right, US markets have been the biggest gainers because they have shown earnings growth. Concentrated rally, etc. is separate. But market-wide, they have shown earnings growth. So the US markets have done very well in 2023 and 24. Despite everybody saying, "Arey, महंगा है, Mag 7 है, blah, blah, blah." Markets have done well. India, which is why did well for so many years in the last 4 years, despite everybody saying महंगा, because growth tha. The reason why markets have fallen because growth floundered, and Ridham Desai put it beautifully. I just keep on telling everybody it's an interview with 3 people, but Ridham kind of spoke about a lot about markets, and we'll drop that interview right now as well on the chat. Go and listen. He's saying that according to him, it's a factor of growth slowing down. Once growth comes back, the FI money will come in. And I spoke one more thing. Last point. I spoke to Surendra Goyal of Citi. Everybody's saying that US is giving 4.5% risk free plus this plus that. He's saying it's a bear market argument. This would have been true a lot of times in the past, but Indian markets still get flows when there is growth. As long as growth comes back, money will come back to India according to Ridham.
So this is a temporary blip is what you were saying, that growth is not here in
One
this
hopes
quarter.
it's a temporary blip because growth needs to come back. But if growth comes back, then we will look back at this dip being a temporary blip.
Do you think the growth will come back? That is the essential question, right? That is the question.
The commentary in Q4 is not as bad. I think the litmus test, and we spoke about it 3 days back, the litmus test is the corporate commentary in the last 15 days of March about how Q4 was. And what is it that companies have to say about Q1 and Q2? CapEx has come back, RBI has done its bit, government has done its bit. I think growth should come back.
So what was one particular problem according to you, or maybe 2 or 3 such particular factors which you could point out which hampered the growth?
Election and then the monsoon. 2 quarters back to back followed. The growth was much slower than anticipated. The government spending was also scaled back. Until November, the government spending on CapEx was trending way below norm. If they had to spend 11% growth, they were doing 3%. For whatever reason it may have been, till November, the government capex also was weak. So I think that has gotten resurrected. Hopefully, we'll see the results.
So once this normalizes, things will pick up back.
Hopefully,
yeah. Okay.
So it's the expenditure will happen only from maybe March, April onwards, right?
Yeah.
So tendering jo hua hai uske basis pe.
So
okay. So questions were there.
Questions. So I'm what?
Okay. Later.
Okay. So. Let's take some questions, and I promise you I'll answer the capex question in 5 minutes. But can you comment on PVR Inox stock, First Cry stock? Sorry, we can't comment on stocks per se, but
कंजम्पशन पे बात कर सकते हैं.
फटाफट बात करो 1 मिनट पे कंजम्पशन पे. बाद में आप क्वेश्चन फॉर रुचा.
हाँ, simple. PVR Inox, it's all about how your industry is doing there in that sense. What we see today is that if you have a good exposure to certain markets, then there is a very good sign of revenues and coming in. There is almost half of your revenues now coming from F&B, like restaurants working and not distribution companies, which is film distribution companies. But again, it's a factor of the industry which is coming in there. If your exposure is there to certain movies or to some of the movies which are coming and generating enough revenue, it's going to be a very good for the quarter. But Q4 is going to be a little slow because you have exams coming in. So, anyways, Feb and March are
That
very.
seasonality is always there, no sir? That seasonality is always known.
Yeah. In the sense, Q3 में अच्छा था.
Like that. Because it's season, no sir? Festive season.
नहीं, हाँ. But I'm saying that you have to look from a point of view कि overall कैसे हो रहा है, right? So your movies are now, I think the next one which is coming in is Sikandar. If I'm not wrong.
I don't go to theatres, I don't know.
अरे सलमान खान की movie है यार.
Just give you the last one I saw was some time back. Anyway,
हाँ.
so
it's more.
not
So it's more
necessarily
movie oriented, movie related. कौन सी release कब हो रही है, वो हिसाब से flow कितना आ रहा है. But if we look and sir check back कि मूवीज अच्छी है फिर भी रेवेन्यू में रिफ्लेक्ट नहीं कर रहा है और स्टॉक नीचे आ रहा है अर्निंग्स के बाद. ऐसा बहुत बार हुआ है. So it's a very volatile stock according to me and very unpredictable in that way.
Somebody did this piece, right? PVR has not given returns for like some 8-9 years really. But many cases. Shrikar Reddy is asking, Rucha, does KPIT revenue get impacted or affected because of the US and EU trade tariff war? Because according to Shrikar, KPIT gets 41% of the revenue from EU and 22% from US.
So global EV slowdown hoga. If that is impacted, that will definitely impact companies like APIT, Tata Technologies, etc. But it's okay, 40% from EV. The other 60% should
EU, 40%
EU, yeah. Okay, that region. So if that region is not doing well, it will definitely impact such companies.
But they still went ahead
IT as a whole also is impacted because of what is happening with respect to tariff, what's happening in EU, US, wherever, all the tariff impact.
But didn't they go ahead and knowing all of this, they still they gave a decent commentary, right?
Yeah, they. So you tell me what are your thoughts?
No,
Because
I'm
according
asking
to
you.
me,
Shrikar is
no,
asking
no,
you.
see,
You interviewed him, no?
Yes, I did, but Rucha tracks this very closely, so I thought I'll ask
see,
you.
according to me, these IT companies will be impacted. Even
Okay.
they have good commentary. Even the guidance was strong in the last quarter that KPI Technologies gave. But I think they are yet to bear 100% pain. It's not still accounted for. Even in these companies, even in R&D companies or IT companies, there's still unclarity, is what I would say, at least for the near term.
Okay, fair call.
What was your take?
No,
on
no.
the
I was just
management?
wondering that if if the management knows all of this as well, and yet they are confident about the numbers, then maybe they are not seeing that impact coming. Otherwise, largely what Rucha is saying.
Sir, वो तो client से नहीं सुन रहे हैं, इसीलिए they
Maybe,
are,
yeah,
you
agree,
know,
agree.
they are saying कि हाँ होगा. अभी कल उठ के clients के साथ फिर सुनेंगे and then they will cut down the guidance. That's what keeps on happening in the sector.
Fair point. Fair point. Okay. So that is one. There is a question that is coming on Trump tariffs, whether they'll impact jewelry companies as well. Sajeet, any thoughts?
I think there is some bit of I think last trade data which we were seeing, there is some bit of jewelry that gets imported from the US. उस पे थोड़ा सा impact आ सकता है, but I need to tell you that Piyush Goyal is talking of a very comprehensive bilateral treaty with the US, and it's going to be mother of all agreements or treaties or something. That's what he just told today at I think Invest Kerala Summit. So that needs to be looked at. There's lots of news flowing around about pharma companies going and pitching to government saying that reduce the duties on pharma, because anyways we don't get much of an import from pharma. We export $8 billion and maybe getting around $300-400 million. So we can absorb it, but $8 billion is a very big one which is at risk. The other thing is about electric vehicles coming into India. There's a talk about which Shrimi has broken today. Just go and see the story as well as her link, which where she is saying that the government could be looking at reducing duties from 110% to 15%, and that's one of the reasons why M&M is down today.
Massively down.
Massively down. But again, let's caveat it. The management says that it's not worried about this competition. The analyst says, like I think Surendra ne kaha tha, right? That fragmentation, whenever fragmentation threats come in, markets get worried and stock gets impacted. So all those have to be factored in the entire thing before you do it. हमने ये देखा है कि हीरो का तब होंडा के साथ ब्रेकअप हुआ था, हमने बोला था हीरो वाज रिटन ऑफ. बजाज का तब कावासाकी के साथ ब्रेकअप हुआ था, हमने बोला बजाज वाज रिटन ऑफ. So and these two are now the prime two-wheeler makers in the country. Simple as that. So companies have their own way of managing risk. Mahindra has its own way of doing it. Of course, if the price points are near Mahindra, then Mahindra has the ability to scale it down. The pricing, which is आज के डेट में 20 से 30 लाख के बीच में गाड़ी आ रही है, वो नीचे लेकर आ जाएगा. पर वो तब नीचे लेकर आएगा तो नेगेटिव होगा टाटा मोटर्स के लिए वो उस समय, because then it becomes a competition for Tata Motors in that sense. So you have to look at the pros and cons, and as and when it comes in. Tesla अगर कल आता है तो ऐसा तो नहीं है कि 1 लाख गाड़ियाँ बिक जाएंगी एक साथ, नहीं. उसकी मिनिमम प्राइसिंग 40 to 60 lakhs के बीच में है. So it's not going to have an impact immediately. Yes, some of the new bigger guys or wealthier guys will go and buy a Tesla EV. But it's not going to be the first car for them. It may be the second or third car for them.
उनका target addressable market, it's not
similar to.
Yeah, let's see if they sell it at a much cheaper price as one of the dailies was suggesting. I find it difficult to believe, but let's make it
Then
watch.
Niraj will probably buy one.
US में सस्ते में कैसे बेचेंगे? वही तो मैं पूछ रहा हूँ.
Yeah, lot. So actually, a lot
US में जितना बेच रहे हैं उससे सस्ते में कैसे बेच सकते हैं?
Also, I think Tushar, our auto reporter, told me that the couple of Mahindra cars that have come in are apparently very, very good. I'm not a brand beholden person. I buy what is good value for money, so I'll be happy with whichever car is looking good that way. Sorry, now I have to take in a question that was asked yesterday and just address that.
Capex, no?
Trin Nguyen. The question was that Trin Nguyen had mentioned on NDTV that India needs to use the labor force and focus more on manufacturing. Why do we lag behind other Asian countries on the manufacturing side? Does the Indian perception affect it? Now, I thought about it, okay, I don't know if, and we'll make this very quick, but I thought about it. I think global MNCs who find or who manage to navigate through the policy and political system well are able to actually thrive as well. We've seen massive investments in Gujarat, in Tamil Nadu, in Karnataka, now in Maharashtra. I mean, in Davos, they signed some 16 lakh crores, and a lot of it was India, but global as well. So I think everybody's managed to do that well. Auto companies, Korean auto companies, right? Great investments. Japanese auto companies, great investments, large investments. So people who've managed to do that have thrived. Hopefully, policy continuity in states, which is now becoming increasingly evident in a few states, will help bring in more investments as global capability centers have come into India and so on and so forth. So I think that is what will probably drive it.
Even states like Kerala are now moving towards investor-friendly policies.
Says the Mallu.
I'm not born bottom in Kerala, but I've seen that state closely, how companies or manufacturing units get set up and then they get shut. But the policy is changing, and the services, especially on the services side, is changing a lot. And today, I think there's something you had that Adani port, Birmingham port coming in, and that's a trans harbor that brings in a lot of opportunity of trade coming into India.
Yeah. No, but that will not be manufacturing. So
it's not manufacturing. I'm trying to say that it's a private sector participation which is there.
Sure, but from a manufacturing perspective, European heavyweights like ABB, Siemens, etc., Japanese car makers, Korean car makers, consumer durable companies, all of them have thrived and expanded. So they have done it. Maybe they are able to get a better policy.
No, Suzuki is talking about 4 million cars by 2030.
No, but the fact remains that we've lagged. So the question was, why are we lagging? I'm presuming that we might be lagging because the people who've not been able to navigate the policy and the political environment well have not found the gumption to come in and do it. That's my view. I may be wrong.
हो सकता है ये. But now I think everyone is agreeing on a base level of policy for investments and capex, which is there, and that's what is helping.
Agree. Okay. I've been asked, Niraj sir, can I have your view on the recycling theme? Well, the only thing is the couple of investor conferences that we attended, the companies were talking about 30-35% growth, and the one or two of them whose releases I saw post their numbers spoke about pretty strong guidance even after Q3 for FY26 and 27. So I think that theme is firmly in favor. The world needs to recycle. You and I both know that. and the companies so far are singing out commentary, so that seems to be
even the stocks have rallied too much in the space, don't you think so? But still, an upside from here is huge. Is something I don't know true? Is that will that happen?
I mean, depends. So they've corrected also, right? Quite a bit. Both. I mean, so 2 or 3 names: Gravita India,
Correct.
Tina Rubber, etc. All of them corrected quite significantly. But I think they've given some good guidance, and maybe that's why we've seen a bit of a rally in those stocks.
They're talking about Trump tariff impact on apparel and pharma.
Yeah,
companies.
which I just asked you anyway.
Jewelry we spoke
Yeah.
about. Pharma, I think some of the pharma guys are saying that it's not going to have an impact because the cost will be passed on to the US.
Yeah. I mean, today we were speaking to Pearl Global on the textile side, apparel side, right? Actually,
Yes.
not textile, apparel. But he mentioned that US imports everything from 3 centers: Southeast Asia and Asia, Europe, and Central America. So if they're importing from everywhere, I mean, tariffs will be high cost for the US consumer. So
The
that's where it
only thing which would be a disadvantage is if our currency depreciates. Then our competitive advantage within the region comes down. So,
Why?
Because
If it depreciates, it's good, no?
no, in the sense, currency fluctuation की बात कर रहे हैं.
Fluctuation, okay, fine.
Simple.
हाँ.
वो and if we are have to get some of the raw materials for this thing, then
Then it can impact.
impacts
Okay.
which is there.
Okay.
Because for high-end apparels, you need to have some kind
That's
bit of
true. That's
import
true.
which is there.
Okay.
So that's the currency of fluctuation part of it, which impacts both apparel and then pharma to some extent because raw materials उसके लिए जो आते हैं.
Yeah, great. What about large cap IT, Rucha? We've spoken about mid cap IT. What about large cap IT?
So large cap again, I think will is all about whether they are seeing a positive thing around US or not, which they actually are, is what they have mentioned around the BFSI space, especially which was soft over the last couple of quarters, and now seeing green shoots. Well, in fact, Wipro has done really well. Well, of course, 50% of it is because of the management change, but the other 50% is how its Capco consulting business revived, is what Accenture also mentioned. And that is why am I mentioning out Wipro, because that is one of the indicators that if the Capco business is doing well, if Accenture's consulting is doing well, which means that clients are ready to spend on discretionary items, and therefore could reflect positively on Indian IT's top line growth. Even TCS had real good commentary in the last quarter, which is why the stock rallied so much after the result day. Infosys raised their guidance. However, Infosys fell because expectations कुछ ज़्यादा ही set कर दी थी TCS के बाद. That is a separate story. But at an overall level, not talking about Infosys specifically, because Infosys ka guidance mentions about flattish to negative growth over the top line. But filtering this company specific stuffs out on an overall basis, I think clients are ready. At least not negative, is I would say. This could be a positive. No negative could be a positive according to me.
Okay. As we wrap up, Sajeet, anything else?
3 questions हैं. एक तो EV buses पे है. Electra, JBM, Ashok, Tata Motors. Who will be the big winner? You have any view on that?
No, not really.
The only thing which is preventing large scale EV buses is the format of the balance sheet which is there. If government has spoken about the fact that how to de-risk the balance sheets of these OEMs, if they are able to do that, then you're going to see a huge run up in many of these OEMs, because most of the urban cities are going to go for EV as part of the green plan.
Okay.
So that's something which needs to be watched out for. Sagility पे कुछ है? Who is this? Ayush Washni.
Oh, I mean, sorry. No.
तुम्हारा सेक्टर है?
हेल्थकेयर नीश प्लेयर है सर. काफी एनालिस्ट भी बहुत बुलिश है कि वो जो हिसाब से एग्जीक्यूशन कर रहा है, तो टारगेट एड्रेसेबल मार्केट सिर्फ हेल्थकेयर अराउंड है, and plus especially concentrated in US, that I personally feel could be a potential risk, even though the TAM is actually addressed to. उसके बाद क्या करेंगे? कुछ तो you will have to diversify, right? So I think people are looking at कि TAM बहुत ज़्यादा है, target addressable market ज़्यादा है US में, healthcare में है, but कब तक? If some problem happens in the healthcare space in US, फिर तो टूट गया ना?
नहीं, but let's look at the model also, right, of that company. It's a platform which connects the insurer and the hospitals. Correct. In that sense. So healthcare, unless US changes the entire healthcare model, saying that we are not going to subsidize your healthcare going forward, that's unlikely. It's unlikely happening, which is there. So that is one thing which is going in favor, and they're not in India. It's a high in US with a high margin business which is there in US.
Very high margin business. Yeah, that is a positive.
Okay. I think we'll have to call it a day here, though. So maybe more questions next time. But for today, guys, let's wrap it up on bulls, bears, and banter.
With Nifty at down
22,770.
22,800 पे support मिलेगा ना आज end होते होते.
Let's see.
Yeah, I guess
4 दिन
so.
हुआ है. Let's see if they're happy.
बस यहीं पर नीचे जाके ऊपर आ जाता है.
हाँ मतलब it's hovering around this levels only 22,800.
Let's wait and watch how it goes. But thank you so much for joining in and for all of those who gave the blessings to Harsh's baby girl yesterday. Thank you for all of that and have a great weekend. The three of us will be back on
and hopefully without
Monday.
any uncertainties of Trump.
Hopefully above 22,800.
Hopefully about 22,800 as well. Thank you so much for tuning in today.